this stuff like the same type of stuff?
No, there's no graphing in this chapter at all.
I'm waiting for your desk to just fly.
It's all proofing.
Well, some of it's proofing and some of it's simplifying stuff and using a whole, we're gonna fill out the back of the unit circle. And a lot of it, I'll tell you exactly what to do, and sometimes I won't tell you exactly what to do, and that's gonna be the hard part. But we're gonna go through this nice and slow, and we're gonna be patient and kind, and it's going to be okay. I think, not to toot my own horn, but a little bit to toot my own horn, toot toot, that I'm a pretty patient, nice person. Agreed? Sometimes, in math class at least, maybe not on the stage. But I will wait for you, and I will help you, and if we need an extra day, we'll take an extra day, okay? Okay, and when you cry, I'll give you tissues, and I'll tell you that you're not stupid. And at the end of you learning, 7.3, because that is a hard lesson to understand, and when we are done with that lesson, as a reward, I am going to tell you how I met my husband. So we're gonna go nice and slow.
I thought of Nick. What? Ninth graders got to see me cry today.
It's really humbling.
It is.
Although not a single kid saw you.
I don't know about that.
Really?
I think they just pretended that they didn't see me.
What? That was mostly ninth grade boys. If ninth grade boys see something, they're like, that's what I see! Like, they're not too, like, gentle and kind.
What do you mean?
Boys, in ninth grade, would you have described yourself as a gentle and kind person?
I don't even remember my ninth grade.
Anything could have happened. Anything could have happened. Literally anything. Okay. So we're going to start with some basic stuff that I think we already know how to do. You're going to need your unit circle for this. Good call. Now, some of the kindest people I know in the world are male, but ninth grade male is more of a yell it out if you see it kind of year, I feel. So is ninth grade female for about 2/3 of them. 2/3 of them are like, I'm just as loud as everybody else, and about 1/3, oh, and I would say like maybe 1/4 of the boys too are just like looking like, I hope no one ever notices me at all. Like, I hope that like people walk by me and don't even see that I exist. That would be the other part. But yeah, ninth grade's a very obnoxious, weird year, which I think is why I like teaching it. So, I know, right? So here we go. All right, if tangent of theta is -5/3 and theta is in quadrant 2, find secant of theta. All right. Now, this one is something that we've kind of done before. So, anybody have any ideas? Yes. Yes, let's use the Pythagorean identity. Okay, so on the back of your unit circle, we've got 3 Pythagorean identities, right? Which one do you think we're probably going to choose to use? The second one. Notice how the second one has tangent in it, but it also has secant. Now, that doesn't mean that you should always look for a formula that has both in it. The thing you're looking for in the formula is the thing you have. We have tangent, so let's use the tangent formula. Okay. All right, so I'm going to write down tangent squared theta plus 1 equals secant squared theta. And now what do you think I should do?
Plug in tangent.
So this is -5/3 squared plus 1 If I square both of these, I get 25/9 plus, I'm going to say that's 9/9. Everybody understand why I'm doing that? And that gets me what? 34 over 9? Now what? Square both sides, or square root of both sides, right? So that's the square root of 34 over 3. Okay, but now I've got to figure out, should that be a plus? Remember, every time we do like a square root, is it a plus or a minus? And what in this problem tells you whether it's going to be a plus or minus? The quadrant will tell you which one it's going to be. All right, secant is the inverse of which one? Cosine. Secant is the inverse of cosine. I had one person respond, so everybody look up. Secant is the inverse of cosine. See, it's 1 over x, or you could say here it's secant is 1 over cosine. So really you need to think about, is the x positive or negative in quadrant 2? Negative. So this answer is negative, and that's the answer. Not so bad so far? Yes.
Are you recording?
Yes, I am. Thank you for asking me. And I just double checked, and yes, I still am. Thank you, Izzy. Yes.
Do we have to factor in 34?
34 is 17 times 2, so normally, yes, you would, but I guess I already knew that it wasn't going to break down. And 17 is prime. Okay. So, next question. Let's do this one. How about, let's do the exact same problem, except for this time, I want you to find sine of theta. Okay. We know what secant is, right? And secant is cosine flipped. We know what tangent is. Does anybody have a plan or an idea of something we could do with these Pythagorean identities to get to sine now? Michaela.
Flip secant, rationalize denominator, and put in the cosine.
Sure. Okay, so what she's saying is that if we take secant here and we flip it upside down and we find out cosine, which you're saying is just secant flipped, and then you said we should rationalize the denominator? You know what? I don't even know if we need to rationalize. Well, let's do it anyway. Negative 3 square roots of 34 over 34 is cosine. So I'm going to write down here, cosine of theta equals negative 3 square root of 34 over 34.
Why are we bringing the numbers from the first problem to the second problem?
It's because it says if this part, if tangent is this, and in quadrant 2, find secant of theta. I'm just saying find sine of theta now, so it is like one big problem so far. Good question. And so then what Michaela was suggesting is now we use this Pythagorean identity here with cosine squared plus sine squared equals 1, because we know what cosine is. So now we can find out what sine is. Go get a prize, by the way. This is a good idea. Yes, we just made new ones. They're green. Don't get too excited. Don't hyperventilate or anything. I see you right now already. You're stretching because you're so excited, and you need to calm down about this. Okay, thank you. The Ms. Dahlstrom's supervisor came today to watch her teach, and she was talking to me in the back for a moment, and she was like, I can't believe how, like, well-behaved kids are in this classroom. And I was like, they're not too bad. And she was like, man, she was telling me stories about, like, Winona and, like, their middle school and kids, like, throwing things across the room and, like, calling the teacher, like, bad names while they're teaching. And I'm like, yeah, no, that doesn't happen here. So, yeah. Cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta equals 1. Can you imagine if I was teaching and somebody threw something at me and, like, called me a bad name? What in the world? All right. Everybody okay with this so far? All right, so how do I square that big mess? Square each part individually, so it'd be -3 times -3, which is 9. The square root and 34 cancel, that's over 34. And on the